Welcome back. I'm Darrel. I want to have the opportunity to share with you a tip that I think might help you with your drawing, especially when it comes to portraits. And there are a number of things that some people ask about often, and I want to show you something that pertains to the 5-pencil method. If you're familiar with that, wonderful, and if you haven't had a chance, go to 5pencilmethod.com and take advantage of the free tutorials. It'll help you understand sometimes what I'm referring to as I reference something, and it'll also give you a good solid foundation and a base if you've, especially if you've never drawn before, but even if you're learning this new technique. So in this case, I would like to be able to talk about the division between teeth, being able to show something other than just a line. It's a real challenge sometimes for people to avoid having something that looks a little scary. And one of the things that I suggest is to use something other than a clean pencil line going in between. Sometimes that line can be dark enough that it makes it look like you're going in between and past the teeth. And I would rather be able to show that subtle value change that helps separate it, and also use something else that I think helps our minds kind of fill in the gaps. It gives us the opportunity to imagine what it would look like. And it would probably be better to have a little imagination going on sometimes rather than overcommitting. So I want to just remind you that when you have an opening in the mouth, I'm just drawing a line that is going to represent this lower edge of the lip. I need to have somewhat of a guideline. I'm using my 4H to start off with. I would like to be able to take advantage of the gums and how they come down in little V's, I guess. And one of the things that I do with the 5-pencil method is I like to start with the darkest things first. So I certainly wouldn't want to try to draw divisions in between the teeth before I have other things developed far enough along. Otherwise, those darker lines in between the teeth become even more noticeable. So I'm going to create some other values that'll kind of distract from that and help us avoid bringing too much attention to something that we really want to minimize anyway. So we can get a feel for where these are. And now I'm going to take my opportunity to make sure that I'm following the rules of light, where everything gets darker when it goes to where there's less light, and everything gets brighter when it comes into where there's more light. Simple rule that you can use over and over and over again. But I always want to see a gradation, a transition from dark to light. So you'll see that I'm getting lighter and lighter. So I don't have anything that's the same value and becoming flat in any way. Everything I do, I want to have some contour. Real easy to accomplish if you remember to have that range of value. So now we have the teeth that are not getting any shading on them yet, but if everything that goes to where there's less light becomes darker, now I have the opportunity, I develop my dark things first, I have the opportunity now to come across the teeth and the gums all at once and show that it's being shaded. And now I don't want to draw too much in the way of division. I might have an edge to value. I want to be able to practice being able to put a very slight value sometimes, because we're talking about, not white, but translucent, very light teeth, and we don't want to have something overbearing. And so I would have a tendency to come down here and draw the teeth that I want to do. I not only want to take advantage of the fact that I have these gums coming down, which is starting our minds already accepting the fact that there's something separating these two teeth. But when I get down to the lower part, I might show, if it's possible, another place where I can go past the teeth that helps connect the other end of that line without really making a line. There's another important rule in the 5-pencil method, and it doesn't have to be exclusive to that, but we talk about it a lot, in that if you want to go past something, you have to have a clean edge. And I like to have that clean edge of value help me separate dimensions, show depth, but not have something overbearing and too dark for what it actually is. So now, if I'm going to show the inside, it's probably even a little darker here. Don't want to make it just a little scribbly dot here. I want to be able to show that it's going inside the mouth where it's darker, where there would be less light. And now we have the opportunity to show already that we have separate teeth. So now I can come back in here with my light pencil and cast a little bit of a tone. Let's get this back in there where you can see it. And I don't want to be left with just a line, so I'm going to come this way, almost like I did underneath the lip. I'm going to come this way and decide if there is one tooth in front of the other. I want to be able to show which one overlaps which one, or which one is shading which one. So now I've taken for granted that maybe this one is shading this one a little bit. So let's go the other way. Let's say that this one is actually shading the other one. So I'm going to make my clean edge to value, and I'm going to shade it this way. And often this is what's going to happen. You'll end up by having a shingling, and you can go all the way across showing which one is shading which one, by making sure you have a clean edge to separate them of value, a clean edge to value, and then cast the shadow on this side. Now I have to be able to come in and reinforce some of the darker places. I'm going to go and jump up to my 2H, and let's go ahead and deal with some of the places that might be just a tiny bit darker. I don't want to make everything the same color because that would mean it would become flat. Always want to show a transition and a range of value, a gradation that goes from a darker value to a lighter or vice versa. And as you continue developing your picture, you'll find opportunities to do other dark areas, like the corners of the mouth here that actually are quite dark. When I do those, it allows me to start putting maybe a little more value here. But I'm going to just deal with this one little spot. This isn't meant to be realistic. This is just to stress a point. Something that I'm quite sure you can utilize and not come up with something that just has a dark line dividing the teeth like this. This is where it starts becoming scary, which we refer to often. You start outlining your teeth with a dark line, and suddenly it becomes a space. Where this right here, if we cast a shadow this way, we know that the teeth are close together, but one is shading the other one. Now I can come back in and add a little value with my light pencil. Avoiding having lines. A pencil line is never going to be able to represent anything about a tooth unless I'm going past. And you'll see as I get a little more tone in the teeth, I can come back in here and reinforce some of these, a little darker at the top. And each one of these spaces, it goes farther and farther into the inside of the mouth where there's less light, they would be getting a little darker. I'm not quite sure whether everything is going to be exactly in the right position. I want to be able to make modifications, so I want to use the appropriate pencil to make it darker. And so I would continually increase, only use so much pressure, but go up to the next pencil to achieve my value. And as this gets darker, as it goes back towards the inner parts of the mouth, I would go for maybe even a darker pencil. This is my HB. And again, I'd have to have a clean edge to go past the teeth and into the inside of the mouth. If I'm not careful, this could very well just become a dark place on the mouth instead of saying I'm going in where there's less light. But I think you might be able to see what I'm talking about. I'm going to go back to my 4H and just add a little more tone, then just enough to maybe add a little highlight. If we don't have anything in here, we can't contour it. And yet this would be some of the last things I would do when I'm drawing teeth, because if you make them dark before darker things are have value added to them, then these are going to look like there's something wrong. They'll be too dark. So we need to always have contrast to show exactly what a value represents. We have to have a contrast with something. So as I get more value in some of those places, and the teeth would get darker and darker as they go back, I might have to continue increasing some of the other values. But again, this isn't supposed to be a realistic drawing here. I'm just trying to give you the principle, because now that I have some value in here, and I need to knock this back. Every time I do something, I'm creating a whole nother situation here. I'm going to take my 4H and put a little more value in there, because it just comes forward too much. Okay, so now I can come back in here at the last, and I can create a highlight. And there's nothing like having a little bit of a highlight on there to add a little contour. I don't know whether you'll be able to see that on the video. Sometimes it's hard to pick it up. And if you were to use your electric eraser, you could actually pick out something pretty bright. But this is just the first stages. We would normally have a lot more value, and I think this might illustrate the point. But this helps me avoid just having a line representing the edge of a tooth or the division. When I have an edge to value, and then I have the shadow dedicating the side that is being shaded by something else. So I'm glad to be able to show you this tip. I hope it'll be something that you can really find useful when you're drawing, especially with your portraits. And in the meantime, I hope you have fun drawing. Look forward to sharing some more with you later.